In psychology, sensation and perception are stages of processing of the senses in human and animal systems such as vision, auditory, vestibular, and pain senses. These topics are considered part of psychology and not anatomy or physiology because processes in the brain so greatly affect the perception of a stimulus. Included in this topic is the study of illusions such as motion after effect, color constancy, auditory illusions, and depth perception. Sensation is the function of the low-level biochemical and neurological events that begin with the impinging of a stimulus upon the receptor cells of a sensory organ. It is the detection of the elementary properties of a stimulus. Perception is the organization, identification, and interpretation of sensory information in order to represent and understand the environment. All perception involves signals in the nervous system, which in turn result from physical stimulation of the sense organs. For example, vision involves light striking the retinas of the eyes, smell is mediated by odor molecules, and hearing involves pressure waves. Perception is not the passive receipt of these signals, but can be shaped by learning, memory, and expectation. Perception always involves these top-down effects as well as the bottom-up process.
Morning everyone, I'm Professor Benjamin. I'm here in front of you to discuss about sensory processes, most specifically the vision. When we hear the word vision, we will actually think of our eyes. Okay, the stimulus of vision is light wave, and the organ is our eyes. And our eyes is, when we look at it, it is the eyeball or where it is our eyes. And light waves, when light wave pass through, it passes through the cornea, and to the lens, the retina, and to the optic nerve, where the light will go to our brain for the processing. Okay, so we have here the receptors, which is the rods and the cones. So we will think, where will we find the rods and the cones? Okay, so the rods and the cones are finds in our retina. As we see, the largest part of our eyeball is the retina, because there are lots of cones and rods in our eyes for the brain to interpret the light wave that will come to the retina. Okay. I will discuss with you the seeing process, so that's the seeing process. And now, we wonder how our eyes will be seen. When they far, we look at it that's small. When they near, we look at that big. It is because of what's so-called accommodation. So accommodation now happens when the light waves pass through, our lens will contract, or so to say, it changes its curvature for it to look at it big or small. And there are spots in the retina where there is no cones on the rods, and that we call as the blind spot. And next, we have the visual acuity. We wonder why those who defects to the eyes, we look at it, we have grades, but the grades is not like 95 or 1.1 or nothing, but it is, for example, the 20/20, which is the normal vision acuity. And we have the superior visual acuity, which is the 20/30. And we have the so-called visual adaptation. When we hear about adaptation, it is when we in the dark place and we go to the immediately to the where there's light, our eyes cannot adapt directly. We will see it blurry because the rods doesn't function like automatic that when we go to the other place, it will automatically pass. It will undergo what we call as the visual adaptation. And we have two kinds of visual adaptation, the photopia and scotopia. Photopia is when we adapt, when we go to the right place. and, and scotopia is the other way around. We go in the dark place. And there are common visual defects. One is hyperopia, or what we call as farsightedness. The normal eyeball is like this. But when we have a defect, if you have a defect of hyperopia, it is eye too small that when we look at the object, it is not that way that we look at it normally because of the eyeball. And the other is the myopia or nearsightedness. The hyperopia. The hyperopia is the eyeball is too small, but in the myopia it is too large that the light waves it cannot directly go to the retina where the rods and the cones can interpret the light. So it is too much. That's why it is kind of nearsightedness. We need to look at the mirror for us to look or to see what is the object or something that we want to look at. And the other is the astigmatism. Astigmatism is maybe due to an event curvature of the cornea and the lens. So it is a defect that there is a defect in a part of the lens. That's where when the light will pass, it's scattered. That's why the object we see, it appears blurry or we cannot see it that clear. And the other is the strabismus or cross-eyed. It is very understandable because when we hear the word cross-eyed, vernacular it is libat. Okay. The cause of the cross-eyedness is the imbalance of the muscular imbalance. So when we look at the object, when it is one, and we will look at it that two because it is because of the muscular imbalance. We have the presbyopia or blindness. So normally, when someone getting older, the capabilities of our organs decreases. So when it is older, it is the ability to accumulate, so the lenses harden. That's why it is not capable of adjusting to the light which will come. We have the myopia. Our eyes has the eyeball. Okay, this is the eyeball. We have the optic nerve. When you go to the brain, this will be the drawing. In the myopia, there is that part that is the nerve. If there is a damage in this part, or okay, this is this part. So as a result, we cannot the other eye cannot see or interpret the object because the optic nerve, the light waves cannot go to the brain for interpretation because the optic nerve is damaged. Okay, that's the myopia. And the other one is glaucoma. We wonder why we look at someone that when he look at the sea, it's a very beautiful view. And there is that dark spot in the center, and that is the scotoma. The blind spot in the visual field, that's scotoma. Next is the visual paresthesia. It is the condition where there are optic sensation without an object. So there is a visual sensation without an object. So it's like imagining. So when we look at the vacant space, and you can see something which is not existing, that's a defect. It's called as visual paresthesia. The other is the color blindness. When we show a color like this color is orange. The colorblind people will immediately look at it as red, maybe red or yellow, but actually it is orange. That's the color blindness. The other is night blindness. When the night comes or there is dark, there is no light, the people who experience the night blindness, even if it is small amount of darkness, they cannot see clearly. It is because they lack vitamin E that is responsible for the eyes, for us to see clearly. And as this our eyes, we need to take care of our eyes because it is the organ that we can see the beauty creation of God. So we need to take care of our eyes.
What?
Audition. Audition is the formal phrase for hearing. Audition comes from the root word audio, which means sounds. It may be passive or active. Audition is important in providing feedback for the mind as well balance of the body. Rarefaction wave. It is the reduction of an item's density, or it is the opposite of compression. Like compression wave, it can travel in waves. Rarefaction waves also exist in nature. A common rarefaction wave is the area of low relative pressure following a shock wave. Rarefaction waves expand with time, like the sea waves spread out as they reach in beach. In most gases, rarefaction waves keep the same overall profile at all times throughout the wave's movement. It is a self-similar expansion. Each part of the waves travels at the local speed of sound in the local medium. This expansion behavior is in contrast to the behavior of pressure increases, which get narrower with time until the steepen into shock waves. Compression wave. It is a longitudinal wave propagated by the elastic compression of the medium called also compression wave. One compression wave and one rarefaction wave is composed of the sound wave. The air consists of three basic parts: the outer air, the middle air, and the inner air. Each part of the air serves as a specific purpose in the task of detecting and interpreting sound. The outer air serves to collect and channel sound to the middle air. The middle air serves as to transform the energy of a sound wave into the internal vibration of the bone structure of the middle air and ultimately transform these vibrations into a compressional wave in the inner air. The inner air serves to transform the energy of a compressional wave within the inner air fluid into nerve impulses that can be transmitted to the brain. The difference between the volume and the pitch. Volume is the loudness of the sound, which is the level of the sound frequency and expressed in hertz. Conduction deafness. It is due to a disturbance in the conduction of air waves from the outer to the inner air due to any of the following causes. The air may be stopped up, the eardrum may be ruptured, or the ossicles of the middle air may be damaged. Nerve deafness. It is the loss of sensitivity of the receptors due to infection or injury.
Olfaction or olfactory perception is the sense of smell. This sense is mediated by specialized sensory cells in the nasal cavity of vertebrates, which can be considered analogous to sensory cells of the antennate in vertebrates. In humans, olfaction occurs when odorant molecules bind to specific sites on the olfactory receptors. These receptors are used to detect the presence of smell. They become together at the glomerulus, a structure which transmits signals to the olfactory bulb, a brain structure directly above the nasal cavity and below the frontal lobe. Many vertebrates, including most mammals and reptiles, have two distinct olfactory system, the main olfactory system, and the accessory olfactory system used mainly to detect pheromones. For air-breathing animals, the main olfactory system detects volatile chemicals, and the accessory olfactory system detects fluid-phase chemicals. Olfaction, along with taste, is a form of chemoreception. The chemicals themselves that activate the olfactory system in general are very low. concentrations are called odorants, although taste and smells are separate sensory systems in land and animals. Water-dwelling organisms often have one chemical sense. Volatile small molecule odorants, non-volatile proteins, and non-volatile hydrocarbons may all produce olfactory sensations. Some animal species are able to smell carbon dioxide in minute concentration. Taste sensations are caused by small organic molecules and proteins. Ikat na to.
Degustation is the sense of taste, and it is the faculty of distinguishing sweet, sour, bitter, and salty properties in the mouth taste. Our tongue is equipped with taste receptors in our taste bud. Taste buds, they are found in bumps on our tongue called papillae. Some people think that every bump on the tongue is itself a taste bud, but that is not true. Each papillae has many taste buds. In addition, we have taste buds that are not even on our tongues. Some taste buds are found in our throat, cheeks, and in the roof of our mouth. All the cells in the taste buds lie with their apical surface facing a pore called the taste pore. This pore is basically an opening in the surrounding tongue, this tissue to allow exposure of the apical surface of the taste cells to the environment in order to receive the chemical stimulus. The apical surfaces of the taste cells have a lot of surface area to interact with the environment since they are covered with microvilli. These microvilli, which are tiny projections much smaller than cilia, are called taste hairs. Taste buds die because on increasing age, hot coffee, or etc. But generate a small amount of new cells every 10 to 12 days.
Proprioception is the sense of relative position of neighboring parts of the body and strength of effort being employed in the movement. It is distinguished from exteroception, by which one perceives the outside world, and interoception, by which one perceives pain, hunger, and the movement of internal organs. There are three groups of proprioceptive senses, the stimuli of which do not come from the external environment but from the body. These are kinesthetic sense, posture and movement, vestibular sense or balance, and organic sense. Kinesthetic sense. It is a sense of bodily movement and position of the part of the body with respect to each other. The receptors are found in the nerve ending of the muscle, tendons, and joints. These receptors provide us information about the rate of change and angle of bones to the spinal cord. Through kinesthetic sense, we are able to determine the location of any parts of the body and progress of rate of its movement. Next, vestibular sense and rotational sense. It is also referred to as static senses, sense of equilibrium, or sense of balance. In the vestibular sense, the hair cells in the vestibular system determines the position, direction of movement of the head. Next, organic sense. When the visceral organs, such as the result of their activities, the nerve impulses, and these organs are sent to the brain, arousing sensation. These sensations may be in the form of cramps, nausea, thirst, hunger, bladder tension, or painful sensation. Next, factors affecting perception. There are two kinds. First, external factors, and the second, internal factors. Under external factors are, first, intensity and size. Second, contrast. Third, repetition. Fourth, movement. And last, novelty. Next, under internal factors are: first, motives. Second, set or expectancy. Third, training of the perceiver. Fourth, experience of the perceiver. And last, interest and attitude.
Siwa!
Gestalt theory of perception. These studies believe that perception was driven by an innate tendency to perceive the environment in a simple, possible way. Gestalt principle. Gestalt is a psychological term which means unified whole. It refers to the theories of visual perception developed by German psychologists in the 1920s. These theories attempt to describe how people tend to organize visual elements into groups or unified wholes when certain principles are applied. These principles are similarity. Similarity occurs when objects look similar to one another. People often perceive this as a group or pattern. For example, continuation. Continuation occurs when the eye is compelled to move through one object and continue to another object. For example, closure. Closure occurs when an object is incomplete or a space is not completely enclosed. If enough of the shape is indicate, people perceive whole by filling in the missing information. For example, proximity occurs when elements are placed close together. They tend to be perceived as a group. For example,
Yeah.